people turning on their cameras. Fantastic. Nice to see you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Um, let me, I will have some technical difficulties. I always do. But just bear with me because it really only ever takes me a minute. Okay, so let's share my screen. Tab. Okay. I like to work with slides. I'm not really, I don't really understand Prezi yet, what Bridget was using, but I'm very inspired, so I'll use it next time. So I'm Shannon. I live in Los Angeles, California. Hello, everyone turning on their cameras. Fantastic. Thank you. I love living in Los Angeles. Who knows where Los Angeles? Show of hands. Yes, of course. Hollywood, palm trees, beaches. Who has been to Los Angeles? Okay. All right. Nice. Next time you come, call me up or send me a Skype message and I'll show you anything you want to see. I love it here so much. So I actually live in Pasadena. I don't know if when you came to Los Angeles, you knew that, but Pasadena is just next to Los Angeles. But you're welcome. That's what we say. We just say Los Angeles. So I have two children. I'm a mom. My children are 13 and 15. So one of the reasons I love to teach English is because my kids are getting too big. They're teenagers. They want to move out of the house. Breaks my heart. Part of me, I never want them to leave. And the other says, go. You go ahead. You can leave now. It's a lot of work. I'm sure as teachers, and some of you, I'm sure, are parents, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's my favorite thing. It is my favorite thing I've ever done. Three things I love to do. I love to cook. I love to read, and I love taking walks. And as I get older, you know, as I get older, in fact, I turned 50 last year. So as I get older, I like to take walks more. I feel more calm. I want to just sort of enjoy a quiet life, a quiet, slow life. So that's why I like to take walks outside in nature. Does anybody else like, not everyone likes to walk. Does anybody else like to walk, take long walks? I know Luke does. Yeah, perfect. Wonderful. I do not like to run. I am not into running. Okay. No, thank you. I don't like it. Too hard, too much work. Take walks, watch movies, eat spaghetti. That to me is a perfect life. Excellent. So I taught English back in 1995. I got out of college. I studied psychology and I thought, oh, I don't have a job. What will I do? So I became an English teacher and I taught business English. I actually, my students were mostly businessmen from Japan. There were a lot of Japanese businessmen moving to California in 1995. So they need help. So these were my students, and I liked that a lot. But then I left teaching, and my family had a wholesale business. So my sister and I ran the business for 16 years, and I traveled to Asia quite a bit, but I never got to go to Taiwan. My sister got to go to Taiwan. She got to go to Taiwan. She's my dad's favorite, so he gave her Taiwan. But I got to go to China, Japan, Thailand, Laos. So I've been to many beautiful places, but I do hope to come to Taiwan sometime soon. And then I began teaching English again in 2020, right around the time of the pandemic. And I met Luke, and I have just tried to teach with him whenever I can ever since then. It's just really wonderful. So that's a little bit about me. And the reason I tell you this is because I want you to know me and I want to know you. But also this is how I would open any class that I would have. So any class where I will be teaching the students for a period of time, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I will spend more time talking about me. And a lot of what I say here works into lessons. Okay. So in the first week, I'll get the children to talk to me about where they live, what makes it great, right? Do they have siblings? What are their hobbies? We can do an entire lesson on hobbies. We could do a lot of time on hobbies, and so what I like to do is introduce myself, tell more things about me over time, share about who I am over time. And then that becomes the lessons, right? So recently in my class, I did 3 weeks on healthy eating. That had been Luke's idea. Let's talk about, healthy eating, being healthy. So we talked about healthy foods, and we were able to do that for 3 weeks because there's so much vocabulary, grammar, interesting things to talk about, without having to say, oh, this is a grammar lesson. I don't have to say, oh, we're learning about the possessive tense today. We don't, that's not how we learn language, really. When I'm speaking, or when you're speaking in your native language, you're not thinking about the rules. Right? So that's accuracy. We're feeling where the words are coming out of us because we want to communicate. We have reasons, and what Bridget talked about before, what motivates us. So we want to make friends. We want to do well in school. We want to get a new job. We want to be able to order our favorite food off the menu. And I think really we want to fit in. We want to fit in. Who knows what fit in means? You heard that before? You want to fit in. When we want to fit in, we want to be part of the group, right? I want to do what you're doing so we can become friends. I want to know the music that you know, or know the TV show that you know. So learning a new language, we can fit in with other people. And especially, if you're going to be needing to teach in English, or that's the goal in 8 years, it's a wonderful time to learn the language, even more. So that's why I do an intro like this, okay? I'm going to move into some of the games that Bridget already talked about so we can do a review. But before I do that, did anybody have any questions for me so far? Nope, that's okay. There will be time. Okay. So, Bridget talked about the game categories, and I do think this is a great game. I like it because it's very simple. I think that simple games and simple lessons can be one of the best ways to get students talking. If the idea that the student has to think about in terms of the lesson, then they will learn that more quickly, and then they will be more free to talk. So in other words, a game like categories, where it's one idea, right? And you can be using a vocabulary list. You can be, today we're talking about fruits. Name the top 5 favorite fruits. Name your favorite fruits. Name your least favorite fruits. Now you've talked about favorite and least favorite. So you've covered 2 language points just by playing the game categories. Name 3 green fruits. Name 3 green vegetables. Now you've got color. So you've got adjectives and you've got nouns happening. So you can be teaching so many different things just with one simple game. And again, everyone takes a turn, and it can give people, it can allow the students, or encourage the students to move a little more quickly without too much pressure, because they already know the answer. So if we say, what are your favorite fruits? They probably know their favorite fruit is a strawberry, or they can think of a watermelon or an orange or an apple, especially if you've made this the vocabulary that you're already teaching. And also because English is quite well known. I find in my class with the students that they really already know a lot of what I'm teaching them. they've heard a lot of it, they know a lot of these things, but it's getting the chance to practice it and have the confidence to practice it that makes the big difference for them. So, encouraging them to maybe talk a little faster. I didn't prepare this game for you tonight, but one thing I've been doing recently as we open class is I've said, okay, I want to know what did I say? Your favorite color, animal, and fruit. That's what I said. But I kind of snapped for them to say it. And I said, okay, Barry, what's your favorite animal, color, fruit? Animal, color, fruit, and worked a little rhythm into it. And you heard that snap, and they kind of got into that rhythm. And so that's sort of a version of categories that you can do. And I love what Bridget said. You can completely make this a game with points and, something to win in the end, whatever that might be. Sometimes a thing that students will like to win is to maybe ask you a question. Then you've got them practicing English, but they get to get something, in return, oh, what's your favorite candy, or what's your favorite song? I sometimes at the end of class, if we have time, I'll say, okay, does anybody have a question for me? Who wants to ask me something? And someone will get going with it, and we can have a lot of fun doing that. So again, some categories like fruit or veggies. I'm big on that because it's in my mind. We were just talking about it. I was surprised how many weeks we were able to talk about fruit and veggies without it becoming boring or a repeat. It was great. Another one would be emotions. Okay, so if you're working with, you want to teach them about emotions, and you might recall Bridget talked about tone and all the ways that you can say okay, right? So you can say okay, okay, oh, okay. So you can kind of do that, work that in. Let's do emotions today. Who can think of 3 different emotions? So that's cool. Menu items, right? So you could be teaching, again, I'm falling back to some of the things that Bridget was talking about. So when working with everyday items, or what do we call it? I think we call it realia or something, real items from the world to help learning the language. So menu items. Okay, you can say, okay, Joyce or Vicky, let's have 3 desserts, right, Vicky? And you'll say, you can either look at the menu that you guys are working with if you have that, or you can just think off the top of your head, wow, if I went to a restaurant and I ordered in English, what would be the dessert that I'd want to order? Oh, ice cream, cake. Then you might get some other kids who might say, I don't know, creme brulee or something, if they ever went to a fancy restaurant or they saw it on TV or something. And another category could be ways to say something. So ways to say hi. Okay. So why don't we just do a round of ways to say hi, ways to greet each other? So just, unmute yourself. And what are ways to say hi to someone? Hi.
What's
Hey.
up? What's up?
What's up? Perfect. What's another one?
How are you doing?
How are you doing? Excellent. How are you doing?
Top.
Top. Top?
What? No, top. What's up? Top.
Oh, top. Oh, I haven't heard that. Top. That must be what the teenagers are saying. Top. I haven't heard that. That's a good one. See, I learned too. And that is I think very important when we're teaching. We're learning too, right? We're learning too. Does anybody have any other ways to say hi? One that my kids say is not tup, but they say sup, S-U-P, sup.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sup.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, my son will go, sup. Excuse me. Excuse me. So there's lots of different ways to say it. How you doing? That's right. How you doing? Or any others? It's very simple, but it's it's good to work on with students because it's one of the first things you say when you meet someone, right? Nice to see you. How's it going? What's up? How have you been? Right? Because we don't normally meet someone and say hello, sometimes, but not always. So that's how you can use categories for vocabulary, for parts of speech, verbs, uh, adjectives, for everyday items, for everyday life. The rhyme game, I think of this probably for younger kids. Um, but I guess if you get into um, maybe more advanced, you could get into, maybe if you were working maybe on poetry with older kids. I think that all of these games you can do with any age. But you just have to change them a little bit. So um, what is good about this is the stretching your mind, which this is from, again, Bridget's presentation. And I think this is so smart that, if you come across a word that rhymes but you're not sure if it's real, look it up. And again, I don't know the rules of your schools, but the way I feel is I think dictionaries are a great thing. I think that translation apps are totally fine. I think that these are tools to learning, and I like having them readily accessible. My children in school, for all their classes, they always have apps, dictionaries, Wikipedia, all these resources, YouTube, all of it. In fact, a lot of their classes, even now when they take tests, the teacher will say, please have this particular app available and use it, because we're not looking so much just for people to remember something. We want them to learn it and know it and understand it. So that is my view. But again, you might have different rules or views in your school. I don't know. Vicky, do you encourage teachers and students to, use their cell phones, or how, or not?
Um, if I ask my student to use a cell phone, they were out of control because they cannot pay attention to what I want them to learn.
Yeah, well, that's a very, very good point. And that is, so it's a debate. It's a point of discussion. Some people think it's okay. Some people don't think it's okay. But I believe that it's important to um, language. We talk about language as being alive and language as being living. So it's always changing. And again, when we speak language, we're not speaking the rules. We're not saying grammar points. We're not even usually using correct grammar when we speak the language. We're saying what we know and what we feel. So it is a debate, and I think it's a very good debate to have. But we can look things up. Again, maybe you just use a book dictionary to do it, or you use digital resources. But again, this is something that I would keep kind of simple. And I like visuals a lot, so I might use visuals, especially with younger learners. I sometimes, with younger learners, like to give them the answer, so I can give them a visual answer. You can see this and guess it, but then that gives them confidence, and they feel comfortable to then say it out loud. And that is a great way, I have found. Luke likes to say it's magic, but I think it's just a very, very simple, that if we tell the students what to say, then they will say it. And once they say one thing that they feel comfortable saying, they will get confidence. and then they will speak more. So I think it's okay to give the answers. Plus, they're not that hard. I mean, it's not like we're doing college exams here, right? It's small steps, small steps. So, what rhymes with cat? Would anybody like to tell me based on these pictures? That's very
Hat.
okay, hat. And you can work on that word with them, pronunciation. So, Vicky, say that again. Can you say that word again?
Hat.
Excellent. Perfect pronunciation. Great job. That's what I do with my students. It's I know you. We're pretending.
Thank you.
And also you had great pronunciation. So, a lot of positive feedback for the students. They like to hear that. Okay, who wants to try the next picture? Who wants to try the next picture? It rhymes with cat. Does anybody know?
Bat.
Bat. Excellent. Perfect pronunciation. Doris.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who wants to try the third one? That little animal there. He's kind of yucky. Yes.
Rat.
Rat. Excellent. Can you say that again?
Rat.
Rat. Really good. Perfect. Okay, you guys. You got a cat, a hat, a bat, and a rat. That's how I teach. Lots of repeating, saying it over and over and over. I use a lot of rhythm as well. I like to work with the feel and how it sounds. That's just who I am. You have to find your own thing that feels good in how you teach, and your students, I believe, will receive that. They will hear you and they will respond to you, and they will start talking more. Okay, so that's rhyme game. The next one is two truths and a lie. And Bridget went over this, but it's a great game, so we'll do it a little bit more. So now you know how the game works, right? You say two things that are true, one thing that is not true. This is a very sort of popular game. Did you know this game before? Had you already heard of this game? Yeah. Okay. I think it's interesting with younger students too, for them to maybe they're not comfortable with a lie. Maybe they want to say something that's, pretend or a joke or false. Some younger children think a lie is very, very bad. And I understand that. But we all know it's just for fun, and we're not hurting anyone's feelings. We're just trying to get to know each other a little bit better, of course. And then older students, that's not an issue at all. And everybody knows that teenagers just love to lie all the time. So this is perfect for them. In fact, teenagers should probably play 2 lies, 1 truth. That would be maybe a better game. So in the example, I am an English teacher. I have 2 children. I am 12 years old. Well, obviously, I'm not 12 years old. Now, I am showing you how the game works. I'm also reminding you that at the beginning of our lesson, I already told you, I'm an English teacher. I'm here, and I already told you I have 2 children. So I already gave you the clues in the beginning, in the way we got to know each other, right? So as you share with the students little things about your life that is okay for them to know, you share this with them, you can put it in your lessons. You can always put it in your lessons. All of your information is there. Does that make sense? It's okay for everyone? Okay, great. I hope I'm not talking too fast. If I am, just let me know. I can always slow down or repeat anything as well, okay? Yeah. So we're going to do I apologize, actually, this is a slide from my upcoming class this weekend. So we sent this out to the students a couple days ago, and I asked them to please send me their truths and 1 lie, and I'm going to work it into my slides so each student who will get to be on the big screen and have that moment. I thought that'd be kind of fun for them. So we're all going to take a turn doing it because it's a great game. But before we do, I wanted to just take it a little further because there's so much we can do with this game. So this is very simple. You all knew the answer. You already knew the answer. So what if we do it, we take it again on the fruit and veggie. And I had also had the kids do junk food. We also talked about junk food. So 2 truths and 1 lie. We're keeping it on theme. And so my favorite fruit is strawberries. My favorite veggie is pumpkin. My favorite junk food is pizza. So can anyone figure out the lie?
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay. Who agrees? Is it number 2? Anyone else? Yes. Someone raised their hand. Are you agreeing, or does anyone think it's anything else? Oh my gosh, you guys. Are you kidding me? You know me so well. Of course, my favorite veggie isn't pumpkin. And if you had been in my class for the last month, you would know this because I talked a lot about it. I don't like pumpkin one bit. I love strawberries. And if pizza were the last, if you could only eat pizza, that would be okay with me. I love pizza so much. So, and then I share something more about me, right? So no, it's not pumpkin. My favorite veggie is a cucumber. So we've worked in continued to work in the vocabulary. Okay. All right. So then we'll do one more. And now this is more like what Bridget showed, right? So this is more thinking. Okay. So 2 truths and 1 lie. I lived in Africa. I can play the
Number
flute.
1.
My nickname is Shay Shay.
Ishe.
Yeah, Shay Shay. So what do you think? You think number 1? Who
Number
said that?
1 is lie.
Okay, number 1's the lie. Who thinks number 1 is the lie? Okay, Doris. Oh, lots of people. Okay, well, you guys think you know me so well. Does anybody have any other ideas? Well, guess what? I fooled you. Yes, I lived in Africa. My lie is I can't play the flute. I cannot play any musical instruments. I can sing a little bit though. Okay, but I cannot play the flute. Yes, I lived in Africa when I was 21 years old. I lived in Ghana in West Africa for 6 months. I went there to work in an education program, and that was really wonderful. And yes, my nickname is Shay Shay. That's what some of my friends call me, Shay Shay. So,
Why?
well, my name is Shannon. So in English, Shay, so I have a lot of nicknames actually, but the SH sound sh at the beginning usually will become, yeah, I know. That's why I love it so much. But I think in Mandarin, it's thank you is xie xie, right? Did I get it right? Xie xie. Okay, I tried.
Yes.
Okay, so this is more Shay Shay, Shay Shay. So other nicknames for my name, Shannon, would be Shay or Shanny, or I have a lot of friends who call me Shan. That's an easy one. Shan sounds like Shannon, Shan. Shay Shay is very playful. You know, it's a couple really close friends call me Shay Shay. Growing up, my dad called me Shanny. And only my dad called me Shanny. If anybody else tried to call me Shanny, it was not okay with me. So, you know, and that's another thing, talking with students about your nicknames and, you know, fun things like that. They like to know, and it's okay. They can know that. Why can't they know that? That's my opinion. So one thing, Vicki, that I did have a question about, and we can talk about it now or later, is, you know, American teaching style is pretty friendly and casual. And so I'm already coming from that culturally. You know, we teach that way already. And many teachers even go by their first names. You know, so that's going to depend on how familiar or friendly you can be with your students. So you have to figure that out. That's your personal thing you have to figure out. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's do, does anybody want to give 2 truths and a lie a go? Does anybody want to try it on us? I know, I had time to think about it and write it down, so I have an advantage over all of you. Okay, well, think about it, and if you don't want to do it now, make sure you play this game with your students because it really is a wonderful game and it's a lot of fun. And I have also found that Would You Rather, which Bridget showed you, is another really I've started playing it more with my students. I didn't play it before, and now we play it. They love it. It gets them talking and it gets them thinking. And when you get them thinking in English, in another language, wow, right? Then they're going to start talking more. And they want to, especially with adolescents. So Luke, I think my students are like 13, 12, 13, 14, 13, young teenagers. They're ready to start thinking. They're ready to start expressing their ideas and, weighing things. What is more important? What do I feel about this? What is my belief? But it also works with younger students because you can talk, would you rather eat 5 strawberries or 25 pieces of pizza, right? I mean, you can ask simple things. And then as they get older, you can make it weirder and more difficult and get them, thinking more. So those are the games that I wanted to review with you. And then from here on out, I wanted to, answer any questions that you had. We can talk about building confidence for speaking, but I wanted to make sure that Vicki addressed what you wanted in terms of handling. Maybe you could give some ideas of the situations that you face that you might want help with.
I have a questions about the 2 truths and 1 lie.
Sure.
What if the student cannot speak 1 sentence, just can speak 1 word? How do you guide them to play this game?
Okay. Well, I would say that you have to model it. Okay. You have to do it yourself. And I would use a lot of visuals and pictures. So if we go back to the rhyming, okay? They may not be able to say these words, but they could maybe point to them and you can do the rhyming. So students, what rhymes with cat? What rhymes with cat? And no one says anything. You can point to the pictures. Here's 3 pictures. Do any of these pictures rhyme? What is this? Who knows what this is? Okay. You can say, who can point at the hat? Point at the hat. You might have a lot of students point at the hat. Okay, great. Good job. Point at the rat. You might want to show what a rat is. Point at the rat. They can point at the rat. Now they're hearing you saying it. They've heard you say cat, hat, rat. You are modeling the language for them. So when I say simple, I'm not saying, oh, it's easy, anyone can do it. I'm saying it's very simple. And sometimes I have found, I think that doing simple things can sometimes be harder for me to just make it simple. But when we do that, I think that's how we can get the students talking more. Is that helpful? Do you think that would work in your classes?
Yeah, that is for rhyme, but for the truths and 1 lie, yeah. How do
Okay.
you guide them?
Okay. Right. I went to the rhyme because that one made sense to me. Okay. So 2 truths and a lie. Let's see. How would we get a student doing this? Okay. Well, first of all, if you're teaching students who cannot speak this is not the right game. Let's begin there. This is, I don't think, the right game. But you can begin to work it in because are you talking about beginner level students or are you talking about shy students?
For shy students.
For shy students. So how many kids are usually in your class?
20,
Okay, so
20 to 30, yeah.
okay. So out of those 20 to 30, are you saying sometimes you have a class where no one will speak?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes you have 30 students and no one will speak. Okay. All right. Let me think. It helps if you have one student who will speak. You don't have one student who will speak. Okay, well, let me put myself in that situation. I would model it. I would do a lot of talking. Okay. I would keep saying so you're saying they know these are not beginner students. They have learned the language.
Yes.
They are very shy to talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, ask a specific student, but the question is, we're talking about a class. So we're talking about a class of 30 shy students which is hard to imagine as an American. Our problem is the opposite. We want that one shy student, come forward, please talk, right? I think you're going to have to do a lot of modeling the behavior or the language. And when you go over it enough times, hopefully they've been learning that, what strawberries and pumpkins and pizza are. They probably know it already from the world. I do think that a bit of theatrics are very helpful. So, big movements. I found in my class, which is online, that they like to go like this for no. One of the students started doing that. And so now we all do it. And it feels very big, like, I don't like pumpkin. It feels very extreme to me, but they all talk about it. Everybody takes turns and talks. Gosh, Vicky, I have to tell you, it's a little hard for me to imagine a class of 30 students where nobody speaks. And this is the cultural sort
Yeah.
of difference, right?
Yes.
How comfortable are you speaking in front of your class?
How comfortable.
Yeah.
If they, if they really don't want to speak English, I will try to fool myself, trick myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
How do
and
how do,
just let them laugh. And maybe sometimes one student will try to speak one word or
okay.
one sentence. Yeah.
Okay. So humor
Yeah.
helps. Finding a way to laugh together. So can you ever make fun of yourself a little bit?
Yes.
Can you tease yourself, like
Yes.
I will say, guys, I love pizza so much. I know I would eat all the pizza in the room. And that, because I've had to make a connection working online. I don't have any face-to-face with them,
Mhm.
with the Taiwanese students, right? So I've had to really give the acting to the job a little bit, right? So it sounds like you can use humor, a little bit of humor, to make everyone feel a little bit more comfortable. You can let them know it's okay to make mistakes. There are, and I wish I'd done one. What I will do is I'll find a resource and put it in the group that we have, because there are games around making mistakes. I think there's one called Broken Egg, and there's some different ones where you can get the students doing an get to know you game to start conversations where they're encouraged to make mistakes. They're encouraged to do it wrong. That can, maybe get some of them talking a little bit more, because I'm imagining they feel a lot of pressure, right? They feel a lot of pressure. I'm going to just stop sharing so we can just talk. So they probably feel a huge amount of pressure to do it right and get very good grades, study, very hard. So how can you let them know that it's okay to make mistakes, especially with language? Otherwise, they'll never learn. I know that when I studied Spanish, I was very afraid of making wrong pronunciations. Um, and sometimes this is when I was a teenager, I would be very shy to speak because I didn't want to look foolish. But I ended up having a very good teacher who taught us that you have to make mistakes. You have to be foolish sometimes to learn the language, you know? And even, and it's, I think it's different for you because you're not a native speaker. But for me, as a native speaker, I tell them I make mistakes all the time. I make language mistakes every day. I make mistakes. So you can tell them, my friend Shannon, who's American, she makes mistakes all the time. So you can just tell them you have American friends who can't speak English very well, if that helps.
Okay, I try. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Were there any other bloopers of American shows that show actors? Yeah, that's great. That is great. So if you have access to YouTube reels and that type of thing, that'd be really helpful also. What else? What other questions would you have around that? Are there other questions I can answer? And I apologize. I don't mean to seem unprepared. I think I thought we were going to be having a open discussion. So
Okay, I have a question for you on American teacher from Arizona. So my office is very close to his classroom.
okay.
Well, I asked him to open his classroom for observers from mostly from the United States. And after each class, we have a small conversation, and he would express his frustration because just like what Vicky said, everybody sit there, they don't want to say anything, and even though he's a good storyteller, but nobody wants to interact with him. And they are 8th graders. They have studied English for so many years. And I keep scratching my head. What happened to our English education here? They are 8th graders. They cannot even make a sentence. So imagine how frustrated he is.
And he's American?
Yes.
Oh, so he's even frustrated doing that. Well, I will say that whenever how when you hold too tight to something, you sometimes lose your grip, you hold so tight and it goes away from you. That the way with lessons, with teaching, if I hold so tight to what I think I'm going to teach or how I'm going to teach, it doesn't always go well. I have to keep things very loose. I have to have a loose structure. So I come into my lesson and I say to myself, okay, well, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. But maybe I get to 3 or even 2 and it's not working. I have to switch. But that's who I am as a person. That's not so difficult for me. So I think if you can become more comfortable, we call it changing gears. Do you know that saying, changing gears in English? Changing gears. Yeah, Luke knows. What's up, Luke? Tell us what that means, changing gears.
Yeah, I just like to drive a car.
Yeah.
Change your
Yeah, you have to change your gear pretty quickly. So if you can help yourself do that, you will have, I think, an easier time. But I have had classes before where nobody wanted to talk, and it's really hard. I'm not an expert. I think it's just, this can happen in any topic and in any subject, not only in English. But I think maybe what happens is, because you're not native speakers, it might be hard for you too to maybe, know the next thing to do. So how can you tell your students, hey, I'm learning too, right? I'm also learning. And that's one of those things, because you want to have authority in your classroom. You want to have, you're the teacher and they're the student, and they should follow the rules. So you're not their friend. It's not like that. But you are also learning, and the more you can learn together, they can help you. I have had that before. I remember one class where no one was speaking, and I asked the students to help me, and that got them speaking a little bit more. Can you help me with this? Help me with this word. So finding always a way to connect with them. So are you all, do you teach, we would call it single subject? Do you only teach English, or do you teach, other subjects and English?
Right now, only in English, one subject.
Okay. Okay. And are you teaching in person, or are you guys remote right now, or?
The whole class.
Okay, you're
Different
teaching in
graders.
person? Yeah. Are you all teaching 8th grade, or all different grades?
Different grades.
Different grades.
All different grades. Has anyone here taught many different grades of teaching English? Does anyone have experience teaching 1st graders, 8th graders, 9th graders? Or have you always taught 8th graders? You only teach.
No, it depends on the school.
Okay. So you have taught different grades.
Yes.
What was the easiest grade for you?
Correct. No easy.
No
No
grade?
easy is one.
Which one did you enjoy the most?
I
None.
think for high school, 7th grade is a little bit
Okay.
easier than ninth
Okay.
grade. Yeah,
Okay.
because when they are older, they are
They
more
have their
quiet.
personality.
Okay. So you like 7th grade.
Yeah.
Well, and what other grades? Does anyone like different grades? Does anyone prefer early learners, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or high school, 10th, 11th, 12th? What kinds of grades do you like the best?
I teach different grades every year, and I prefer teach grade 4. I
Okay.
teach in elementary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And I
great.
think, yeah, grade 3 and grade 4, they are well behaved and they
Well,
follow the teacher. So I think
okay.
it's easier.
That's wonderful. And by the way, your English, you speak English so wonderfully.
Thank
You
you.
you all really do. I hope you know that about yourselves. Everyone who has spoken, you speak English better than many Americans, I would say. So,
Really?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Americans, we do not speak English very well. We don't. We're terrible. We're terrible. No, you all speak English wonderfully. So I will tell you that. And I mean it. I don't give pretend compliments. I do compliment my students a lot because I think it will help them learn, but I don't say things that aren't true. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Right.
But I think that just one more thing about it is you have a network with each other. So you have one teacher who prefers 4th grade, and Doris really likes 4th grade, and Vicky really got like 7th grade. And some of you, I'm sorry, I don't know your names because I don't read Chinese characters, but I've heard. So if your friends outside of this call, create a network, right? So that when you're 7th grader, when you're teaching 4th graders and they're doing nothing, talk to someone who likes that grade and likes that language level. So I think having a network with each other I think would be very helpful, so that you're more, comfortable in your class. But I do think you all speak English really well. And you should know that going into your class. So you have the power. You have the power to do this. And if the students don't participate, it's their loss. It is their loss. What else? How else could I offer any insight or help to you tonight?
Well, I like to play games in class, but time is not always enough. I think it's the problem, the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you are not having enough time, is it because does your school tell you, oh, you have to teach this lesson, or do you get to write your own lessons? What is the reason you don't have time?
Because we have our own schedule. For example, for the midterm, we have the 3 units to finish, and we have taught to the student. If not, they might get not good grades. And so the time limit is always the problem.
Yeah. Is it Tung Chu? Is that how you say your
Yeah.
name? Tung Chu.
My name is June. June.
June.
June. Yeah.
June.
Uh,
Okay.
Tongcho is Chinese name.
Tung Chua.
Yeah.
Okay. Tung Chua. June. So do you, what grade do you teach?
8th grade and seventh grade.
Okay. 8th grade and 7th grade. Yeah.
Seventh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that is a really good grade to have that for them to understand that type of reward. 7th and 8th graders are able to, I have found that they like earning things. They like, saying, oh, if you get these things done, then we can play a game. Has to be a good game that they will like. So maybe having the class structured that way. I know that I like having, what I like to do in the class I teach with Luke is I always like to, at the end of my class, invite the observing teachers, like 1 or 2 observing teachers, to come join us, because we feel a responsibility to our observing teachers because they're learning to teach too. So I like them to have the opportunity to get in front of the camera and meet some students. And also the students like it because they can ask a new person questions, and it's a speaking opportunity for the students. However, I don't always have enough time, and I will run out of time, and that always kind of makes me sad. I think, man, I really wanted to do that today. So I do try and structure my class, but I have a lot of freedom. This is not, a school environment like what you're teaching. So Luke lets me have all the fun classes. He lets me have classes where we're very conversational and I can sort of, do what I want. And that does help a lot. But I think games are really good, and maybe just make it a priority for yourself as you're planning what you want to do. If it's something you enjoy, I would make more time for it. That helps. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're at about time. Did anybody come up with 2 truths and 1 lie? No. Crickets. It's crickets. Do you know that saying? Do you have a saying like that in Chinese? We say crickets. Does anybody know what that means? So when no one talks, you say, oh, it's crickets. You can hear crickets chirping because nobody's talking. So that's a very common English phrase. I hear crickets.
Pin drop.
Yeah, you could hear a pin drop, right? Exactly. And that's okay. Crickets are okay.
I can do 2 truths and 1 lie.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I like to write poems. First, I play the piano, and I love cooking.
Oh, I know. I think I know.
Really?
I think I know. I don't know, but I think I know. But I'm not going to guess yet. Someone else can guess. What do you guys think? Does Luke like to cook? Does he like to write poems? Or does he like to play the piano? Which one is not true?
Number 2.
Number 2, the piano. Okay. Lily says the cooking. I think it's cooking also, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It's cooking. Yeah, because I know you love to read and I know you love music. And I've asked you about food before and you say, oh, just something vegan. I'll just have something vegan. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, that is our time. I'm happy to stay on longer if anyone wants to talk about anything, but that is, Vicki, the time that you allowed for the class. So I want to respect your day.
Yeah, we are almost out of time. And if anyone have any questions that you can ask Sharon?
Okay, no problem. I will just say thank you for having me. I love the opportunity to come and work with people. Like I said, I love teaching. I love people. And I'm just going to have a wonderful night and I'm going to have wonderful dreams and rest so comfortably having had this time with all of you. So thank you for inviting me to your workshop today.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Sharon. Thank you for sharing with me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome.
Sharon. See you next
welcome.
time.
I hope
See
so.
you.
Yep, let's do it again.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.